September 8th, 2011. I didn't know then, but it was the beginning of something I would never forget. I lived in a small upstate New York town. School had just started the day before, on Wednesday, September 7th. The mornings already had the hint of fall in the air. On these late summer mornings, the dew caught the early morning sun and glistened like millions of brilliant diamonds. The morning chill burned off with the fog by mid-morning. The sun embraced the hills and valleys, kissed them with warmth. But a storm was brewing. Two storms were brewing. For days, the news was of Hurricane Irene, tropical storm Lee. Irene was pummeling her way up the east coast towards New York, as Lee ravaged through the nation's interior from Mississippi, all the way on a direct course for the small town of Owego, New York, right where Irene was also heading. The two storms collided like freight trains, and for 3 days this small city was inundated with as much as 4 feet of rain. Our house was high in the hills. My siblings and I were home alone since our parents were at work. We began frantically calling our mom as our basement began to flood. She almost didn't make it home since roads were being closed all around us. She was the last car allowed on the road to our hill before the bright orange barricades to block traffic were set up, a stark contrast to the gray curtain of rain gushing down. She had to turn back and find alternate routes home, because roads were flooded over. Finally, she made it home. The cold, churning water continued filling our basement, seeping in through the foundation. Felt like the house would slide down our mountain with the streams of water. The earth couldn't absorb any more, and like an over-soaked sponge, water just settled on the surface. Then the darkness descended on the land as power grids gave out. The night was like ink with only the sound of rain as the world waited. We amused ourselves by candlelight and lantern light, playing games like cards and hide-and-seek, and flashing our lights at the neighbor kid across the road. The morning came and the rains had ceased. We ventured down to the small park behind our house. The usually small creek was a raging river. Large pine and maple trees had been toppled like mere toothpicks. The wooden bridge spanning the creek had vanished, and the angry waters had gouged the banks and eaten a large chunk of road itself away, leaving a gaping hole yawning at the sky. We then piled in the car to survey area damage. Most roads were closed, but we were able to get to the overpass over the interstate. It was gone, and in its place was a new inland sea. The Susquehanna River had burst its banks and flood walls and poured out over the highway for miles. Being kids, we thought it was cool to be able to lay in the middle of the very busy road like roadkill. That night, the sun set over what we called Lake 17. The reds and oranges of the sky reflected off the floodwaters almost made you forget about all the destruction around us. Some people lost everything in that flood. Most people lost something. But that sunset reminded us that the devastation would end, and on the other side of the night, be a sunrise and hope. Thank you for listening.